What's up, everybody? Philly Soccer Page post-game show. I'm Mike Servideo here with Kevin Kincaid tonight. Union fall 3-0 at the hands of Montreal Impact. 2 goals for Blurham Dismally and 1 for McNaughty from the penalty spot late on. Pretty rough evening for Philadelphia Union fans.
I think obviously the disappointment was to see how they came out and played last week, beat the crap out of a great FC Dallas team. Everything else in the table fell their way, and it looked like there might be some kind of glimmer of hope coming down the stretch here for the playoffs. And then to come out and do this, it's very similar to a game that they played against Montreal last year, I think, where they had a 1-1 draw before embarking on an important road trip for the playoff push. I don't know what it is about this team. They always just seem to kind of run into trouble with them, and it was a game that I just didn't really think. I don't know. It didn't seem like the urgency was really there, like the energy maybe. And Jim Curtin kind of had an interesting answer to that in the press conference, didn't he? Where he was kind of pausing to think about it, I guess, and said that it was a little bit of a different game with Montreal kind of being patient and spraying some long balls around the field. It was a different kind of running and chasing. It wasn't exactly the typical, press a team that they do at home. But I don't know. It just didn't seem like everybody was dialed in.
No, it definitely didn't. I thought there was a lack of energy, particularly in the first half from both sides. Did you think it was interesting that it seemed like Jim Curtin and then any of the players that we just talked to in the locker room didn't really call for that? Didn't say that there was a lack of energy. Everybody seemed comfortable with the way the game went.
Yeah, I mean, Ray Gaddis came out and said that he disagreed with it flat out. Josh Yar said that he felt like everybody played well enough. And I mean, to their credit, they it was 0-0 at halftime. They came out in the second half. They had them kind of pinned back a little bit. They hit the post after a scramble in the box. So that would have made it 1-0, and then you're looking at the context of Montreal comes back and scores a couple of late goals to make the scoreline look worse than it really was. Yeah. I mean, it was probably a 1-0 game up until 80, whatever.
Both goals in stoppage time.
Yeah. So I don't know. I get that a little bit, but I think it was more relative, not necessarily talking about the context of this game itself, but relative to what happened last week and where they had positioned themselves in the table. It seemed like there would be more, because they were getting closer to the playoffs, and there might have been something there.
I think a lot of the praise last week was for the way Elsinho played in the number 10 position. Not the same way tonight. Seemed to really struggle to get on the ball. Didn't have a lot of help from Pontius or Fafa Bako on the outsides either. It didn't seem like any of those guys were really up for it.
No, and Lawrence Simon and Victor Cabrera did a better job, I think, on CJ Sapong this time. Remember when they had that 3-3 draw that they played here earlier in the year? They really struggled with CJ. And Simon has always struggled with CJ just because he's a much bigger guy. I mean, I think Simon is a little bit undersized for a center back. He's just a really good passer of the ball, But the new guy, Piet, I thought did a good job on Ilsinho kind of whenever he got the ball, kind of forcing him backwards and making him kind of try to turn away from pressure. And saw a couple instances there where Ilsinho did kind of get the ball and he would turn and face, but by the time he would turn and face, he'd be 40 yards out.
Yeah. I thought Piet was very impressive.
Yeah, I thought he had a nice game. And, Chris Pontius, I think there was a play up here. I'm pointing to an off-camera spot for whatever reason. But
deep on the right side where he stumbles on the ball.
Deep on the right side where Chris Pontius made a great move to get by Daniel Lovitz, who was playing left back. And then his second touch takes him too far into my – and it's just, I hate.
It sums up the season.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, but it just felt like a very Andrew Wenger 2015 kind of play where it just you would see something here and there, and then it would just be that very next move or something that would show that mentally he's not there, the confidence might not be there, which is strange to say for a guy who just came back from a national team.
It is
call up.
It's very strange.
Yeah.
The Union travel to San Jose next week. They're really going to have to start getting points on the road if they're going to stand any chance at really clawing their way back into the playoff race. Now, what do you see that's something that they can change on the road to change their fortunes a little bit?
I don't know. I honestly don't know, because they're not a team that concedes a ton of possession on the road, and they can't press and turn over and use CJ the way that they do on the road. So I mean, honestly, they got to figure out kind of what's going on with Bedoya and with that right side, because he drifts over to the right. Chris Pontius isn't really giving you much. Ray Gaddis, we know, is not going to cross in a ton of balls or give you anything. So before they start, they're almost eliminating one side of their offense completely. And the fact that they've kind of pulled the fullbacks back and made them play more defensively, they're already set up in a defensive position, even playing at home. So I don't know what they just have to come out of that a little bit. They have to attack more from the flanks. They got to give guys a license to go forward because they ask so much of the wingers, so much of the fullbacks in defense. It's almost defeatist the way that they go into these games with that defense-first mentality.
It makes it hard to win games. I mean, you're really pulling for a draw when you're going.
You just got to come out of it a little bit more. I don't know how else to say it. They can't shell up as much as they usually do. You know.
I want to get to something that you wrote this week about the lack of his signing in the transfer window. You pointed out that they were okay. It was okay that the Union didn't bring in a number 10. Is that did they not have the right guys available to bring in, or is that not a position that they're really needing to address right now?
Yeah, it's yes and no. I think that article was kind of framed from the context of we know what the Philadelphia Union are, and we know that they're not going to, go out and get Nicolas Lodero with 12 games left to play. And also the fact that especially when you sign those kinds of guys, assuming it's a big money foreign kind of guy, the track record of those guys coming in mid-season and having a big impact is rare. I mean, more often than the Loderos, you get like a Tim Cahill or a Marco Di Vaio or a Kenny Miller, where they just don't. It sort of takes them that half a year to get there, which you saw with Tranquillo Barnetta, and Alejandro Bedoya. So I think that there was a little bit of history in there, but also the fact that, look, if we know that the resources of this team are finite and small to begin with, then I think you put yourself in a better position to get a more quality number 10 if you drop some of these other salaries and give license to guys like Anthony Fontana or Adam Najim to be kind of your homegrown, affordable backups,
Yeah.
Because if you can play a $65,000 homegrown guy as your backup, then you can have a $900,000 DP number 10. So I guess that's kind of where it was coming from.
Okay. I think that's a fair place for it to come from. I
That's the
said
best
before
show.
we went on camera that I disagreed with the thesis.
That was the best. I don't even know if I agreed with it that much, but that's the best. I kind of tried to.
Is it a harder argument to make after watching that game?
But I try. You're trying to justify everything based on like we know what the team is. Within the framework of the Philadelphia Union. Obviously, if they had different resources, I would say go out and get the $1 million guy now. But I think that we all know that they're not gonna. They've only ever signed one guy in that price range to begin with, and we know that number 10 is the hardest that of everybody on the field. You might have to pay a little bit more money for that position. So I would personally just rather see them, whatever with this season, get it right next year instead of just bringing in a guy like a Martinez or an Aguilar who really you don't know,
Last question before we go. It's August 12th as we stand here. Union are now, I think, 6 points adrift. The playoffs gone.
I think so. I just don't see it coming. I actually wrote them down here. These are the next 5. You mentioned San Jose, so they go at San Jose, at Toronto, and those are four days apart. Home to Atlanta, at Minnesota, at Red Bull. I mean, I just don't. Yeah, I don't know where the points are coming from. And then even if you get through that, then you're still afloat. You got Chicago at home, at Atlanta versus Seattle, at Chicago versus Orlando. So I don't. I mean, I kind of tracked that out in another article I wrote, and we had them kind of on pace for like 39, 40 points. And last year, 42 got them into the playoffs as the lowest point accumulating number 6 seed.
This is a much
in
better
MLS history, and it's a better Eastern Conference. So you're looking at the wild card right now, whether it's Columbus or Red Bull or Atlanta or whoever's right there. The line for that is going to be 45 to 48.
Yeah.
And so I just don't.
From those matches,
Yeah. I mean, we know how they've played in September and October in the past, so there's nothing to. So we just came up with 3 reasons why we don't think that it's doable, and it's not like that's just being realistic based on what we've seen in the past,
All right. Well, on that happy note, I think we can wrap up. Union away next week. I don't even know when we're back here. It's at some point. We'll see you then.
Yeah, Atlanta.